Hey guys, I thought I would finally do that Q&A I said I would do for 5,000 subscribers. We're now past 6,500 subscribers, so definitely more than time that I answer your questions. So I'm going to try to answer every single question you guys left on that Plan With Me video. It was the September Plan With Me video that I recorded on my birthday. And I'm also going to go back to the Instagram post. It's now been a while since I asked you guys for your questions, so I really apologize if I miss any, but I'm going to try to answer every single question that was left on that video and also on the Instagram post. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with all of the questions on my YouTube video. Tracy asks, how did you start your YouTube channel and bullet journaling? Well, those are two very separate things. I didn't include bullet journaling onto my YouTube channel until relatively recently as far as my YouTube history goes. And since I started YouTube long before I discovered bullet journals, I'm going to start with the YouTube story. So a very condensed, quick version is that I started YouTube for the first time in high school. I loved watching beauty gurus and I wanted to be one. I started making videos. People who went to school with me found them. I got bullied. I deleted my channel. Fast forward to grade 12. I was at a new high school. I was feeling a little out of sorts, trying to cling to familiar things as I was in a completely unfamiliar environment. So I decided to start my YouTube channel again. I called it Sweetest Rose 17. It was a nerdy reference to Romeo and Juliet. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Romeo and Juliet is my least favorite Shakespearean play, now that I'm more familiar with Shakespeare, but at the time, I thought I was being all poetic and eloquent, and I was 17 at the time. Good old early 2000s, where everyone would put the year they were born or how old they were at the end of whatever name they'd made up for whatever platform. All of the videos I made for Sweetest Rose 17 are still on this channel because this channel is Sweetest Rose 17. I just changed the name when I started my blog, Plant-Based Bride. So I made videos as Sweetest Rose 17 for a couple years into college. I believe I stopped around the time that I graduated college, but I'd have to go back and check the dates to be sure. I'm pretty sure I made a couple videos when I first went vegan, which I guess was about 6 months after I graduated college. And then I sort of tapered off and stopped doing it. And then when I started my blog, started thinking about making YouTube channels again, and I believe it was the start of 2015 that I started back up with videos. But again, I'd have to go back and double check those dates. So yeah, that's how my YouTubing began. As for bullet journaling, I believe I discovered it in 2014. I must have read a blog post or something about the original bullet journal method, and I started using it, and I've been using it in some form or another ever since. Another question here from Apple Lee John. What made you start videoing your bullet journal? I started recording my bullet journal and making Plan With Me videos when I first discovered Plan With Me videos, essentially. In search of inspiration for my own bullet journal, I found all of the Plan With Me videos on YouTube, found them very interesting, very entertaining, very much enjoyed them, and thought, why don't I make some of those? And the rest is history. Next question is from May-san. I hope I pronounced that properly. Her question was, as a newbie bullet journaler, I would like to know, how do you find your ideas / inspo for your bullet journal themes? I really struggle finding ideas. I get a lot of inspiration from you guys when I ask for your suggestions or requests for themes. Those really get the creative juices flowing. I get inspiration from Pinterest. I have a Bujo board on Pinterest, which I talk about all the time in every video I make about bullet journals. I'll link it below. That's where I save all of my inspiration in one place. I also have a secret board on Pinterest where I will pin ideas once I've decided on a theme for the next month so that I don't give away what the theme is ahead of time to anyone who follows me on Pinterest. And then usually once I put out my video, I will then pin those inspiration images to my main board so you guys can see where my inspiration came from. A little bit sneaky, but I kind of like the surprise effect of you guys not knowing what the theme is before the video goes out. I also get inspiration from Instagram. Instagram has some really awesome bullet journalers, and I get a daily dose of inspiration in my feed on Instagram. And of course, Plan With Me videos on YouTube. More recently, I've started also getting into bullet journal threads on Reddit, the bullet journal subreddit. Next, we have a couple questions from Nick. The first one, how did you get to where you are with your lettering? I'm having serious trouble being happy with my hand lettering and calligraphy and would love some advice. I don't think I'm really qualified to give advice on hand lettering. I am such a noob. I don't think I'm very good at it. I am definitely starting to learn techniques and practice, but there are so many other YouTubers who have many more helpful tips than I would have. So I'll link some videos and channels in the description bar if you're looking to improve your hand lettering. Next question was, how did you get into bullet journaling? I answered that already. And how has it helped change your life for the better? Bullet journaling has really helped me to organize my life. I'm sort of an organized mess sometimes. I love organization, but I sometimes get too overwhelmed by my need for perfection to actually keep myself organized, sort of an all or nothing type of viewpoint. And I do find that having a bullet journal has helped me stay more organized even when I don't reach perfection. I also love that it's an official place for me to make lists all day, every day, because lists are awesome. And it's helped me to be better about keeping on top of my schedule and being on time for things and not forgetting about plans I make. And Nick's last question is, do you find sharing your bullet journal online makes it more stressful to create? Yes, definitely. I am a perfectionist. I want it to look nice for myself, but when I know that there are going to be thousands of people looking at it and critiquing it if it's not awesome, of course that adds stress to the process. And that's probably why I spend a lot more time making my bullet journals. Now that I film the process, it used to take way less time for me to set up a month in my bullet journal because I was the only person looking at it. Now I spend a lot more time in the planning stages and in the creation stage so that it can turn out as well as it possibly can, so that I can hopefully avoid too much criticism. Now, most of you guys are awesome and you're very complimentary and supportive, but there's always going to be someone who's going to comment on, for example, how my hand lettering isn't awesome. And, I'm going to spend more time on my hand lettering trying to make it nice. I'm not going to spend 3 days working on my bullet journal to make everything absolutely perfect, but I am going to spend more time than I would if I was just doing it for me. So, short answer, yes. Okay, so most of the other questions I answered directly on the video, or I'm going to go and answer directly on the video because they're more about that video in particular, so it makes more sense to answer it there, or there are requests for things. So I'm going to jump over to the questions I had on Instagram to finish off this video. So let's get going. Okay, Instagram questions. How did you go about starting putting out YouTube videos and growing your channel? As far as how I started YouTube, I already answered that. As far as growing my channel, I've gone back and forth on if I actually want to try to grow my channel actively. Right now I'm on a not really interested in spending that amount of time place, but in times that I have tried to build my channel more actively, to grow it more actively, it's having a strong social media presence, promoting yourself constantly, joining support groups on Facebook, finding communities of like-minded people to share your things with, to gain new audience, interaction, posting regularly on specific days, specific times, your tags, your thumbnail, quality of the video, all of those things are factors in trying to grow a channel. And there are lots of YouTube channels that focus entirely on growing a YouTube channel. Again, I can link some in the description box if you're interested in that. I don't think, again, that I have the authority to talk about growing a YouTube channel because my channel is pretty small in the grand scheme of things, but those are some of the things I did. Next question, what YouTuber did you first start watching? I can't quite remember because that was probably a decade ago that I first started watching YouTube. I think it was probably Blair or Al Fowler, probably. I remember watching X Sparkage way back then, but I don't know if she was the first one. Those three are the three that I remember from way back when. I'm sure there were more. Okay, next one. How did you find minimizing your wardrobe? Did it take long? I think it's a process that can take a lifetime, to be honest. Maybe not for you. Maybe you're one of those people that can just minimize your wardrobe in one fell swoop and be done. For me, as someone who really enjoys style, who used to be a shopaholic, a recovered shopaholic, I like to think, it's a lifelong process, especially because clothes wear out. They're not something you can have for your whole life. So as clothes wear out, you have to buy something to replace it or live without it. And that question of, do I need this or can I live without it, is really the simplest form of minimizing your wardrobe. It's asking that question. And that's a question you have to keep asking yourself for your whole life. And maybe now you feel like you're done minimizing your wardrobe, and in 10 years you'll realize you only need half of that stuff, or you need none of that stuff and you need different stuff. I think that process is a pretty lifelong thing. As far as how I found it very difficult at times and very freeing and liberating and fun at others. Overall, it's been a very, very positive experience, and it's helped me to narrow in on my personal style a lot better than I could before when I just kept everything. Next question, how do you pronounce jicama? It's jicama, it's not jicama or jikamama or jicama or jicama, it's jicama. That question is a long story, but yeah, it's jicama. Thanks, Jessie, for the question. Next up is, do you have any tips on how to create your own YouTube channel? Yes, you go onto YouTube and you hit create a channel, wherever that button is. I don't actually know because, like I said, it's been a long time since I started this channel. And then you pick a name, and then you've made a channel. There you go. Really helpful tips here, guys. This advice is worth more than it's priceless. I was gonna say it's worthless, maybe more accurate, but priceless, that's what I'm gonna go with, yeah. Yeah, creating your own channel, figure out what you wanna make videos about. Why do you wanna make videos? What is your ultimate goal? Is it something you're trying to do for money, for a living? Is it a business, or is it a hobby? Is it fun? What sorts of videos do you wanna make, and why do you wanna make them? Think about what name you choose, because it's confusing to change it later. Yeah, that's about it. I can go way more in detail into this topic if you guys have questions. I guess you can leave any other questions you have in relation to these questions, or just other than these questions, in the comments below if you have more. How long have you been vegan, and what made you make the transition? I have been vegan for just over 4.5 years now, and I made the transition for ethical reasons, for the animals. Okay, so the next question is, what's your go-to dinner for busy or exhausting nights? Tonight is one of those nights, so apocalypse now, Uber Eats. Pretty good. It's a vegan pizza place in Toronto. It's really, really good if you've never tried it. On nights when I'm slightly less exhausted and or slightly more broke, I will cut up potatoes and bake them in the oven for 45 minutes and put some salt and vinegar on them. It's delicious. Next question is, do you do your vlogs by yourself, or does someone help you film? 99.9% of my videos and photos and things that I put out there, I do entirely by myself. Sometimes I get help setting up my camera and focusing it, but most of the time I set it up, I try to focus it well enough, and then I sit in front of the camera, check it, make sure it's in focus. My camera's on a tripod right now, and I film myself. So that's usually how I do it, just by myself. Any tips for eating out as a vegan? As part of my job, I eat out at least once a week, but the vegan options aren't always great / non-existent. Eating out as a vegan, that's tough. It really depends on where you are. In Toronto, it's super easy because there are so many vegan restaurants, and there are also so many restaurants that are vegan friendly. So there's really no dearth of options. There's just so many places you can go, pretty much any area you're in. Other places it can be harder. I've definitely experienced traveling to places, different parts of Canada or in different countries where there are far fewer options. You're always probably going to be able to find something, or they'll be able to modify something for you. My go-tos, especially in a very small town, are to look for a Thai restaurant, an Indian restaurant, or a sushi restaurant. And they usually have some vegetarian or vegan options already, or they can pretty easily modify things, and they usually are very aware of what products have dairy, have fish sauce, have eggs, whatever it is, and which don't. Especially if they're more of a family-owned restaurant. They're very involved in the ingredients and they know. So usually those are my go-tos in an area that has fewer options. If there are more options, if there are actually vegan restaurants in your area, I would suggest using the Happy Cow app. It's pretty good about finding places. It doesn't have everywhere, but it gives you a really good place to start, especially if you're not familiar with the area you're in. Next question is, what software do you use to edit your vlogs and how did you decide you wanted to start? So I talked a bit about how I started already. The editing software I use is Premiere Pro. It's by Adobe. I have it as part of the Creative Cloud suite. So I have Photoshop, Lightroom, After Effects, Premiere Pro, all of that stuff. So I use Premiere Pro. It definitely has a bit of a steep learning curve. I used iMovie for years when I was in high school and when I made videos again in college. But since I started making videos under the name Plant-Based Bride, I've been using Premiere Pro. And the very last question is, have you watched the documentary The Minimalists? If so, what did you think of it? I have watched the documentary The Minimalists. It was a while ago now. I watched it pretty much right after it came out. I remember enjoying it. I had already found minimalism and was already familiar with Josh and Ryan, who are the Minimalists, before this film. I'd read their blog. I wasn't super familiar with them. I hadn't read all of their stuff by any means. They have a lot of content on their website, but I was passingly familiar with them and with what they did. I remember finding it very interesting. There were a couple people that I already was fans of separate from the film in their own work that were involved, like Sam Harris. So yeah, it was a really interesting documentary. I overall am a big fan of Josh and Ryan, of the Minimalists. I listened to their podcast. I would highly recommend it. I think they have a very interesting view on minimalism and they're very informative and educational, which is great. And I'm happy that they've had so much success with their film and their blog and their speaking tour and their books and all of that. I think they're a great inspiration for different ways to live a minimalist life. And I'd recommend the documentary if you haven't watched it yet. If you're interested in minimalism but you're not sure you're ready for a full documentary, I can link my playlist of videos on minimalism. I have quite a few. As I said earlier, if you have more questions, if you want me to elaborate on anything, let me know in the comments below. It is what it is. I apologize that the Q&A is late. Welcome to all of you new subscribers out there. Thank you so much for being part of the Plant-Based Bride family. So that's it. I will definitely be back with another Plan With Me video for November, so watch out for that. I will try my hardest to get it out earlier in the month of October so you have time to plan. And possibly other videos. Who knows? We'll see. See you guys soon. Bye.